Derrick with Profit Matters, and I'm here at the World of Concrete, and we want to show you an amazing invention that we discovered a couple of weeks ago. We're actually giving one away here at World of Concrete because we were so impressed by it. But we were very, very fortunate to realize we're only about 100 feet away from these folks. So let me introduce you to Alan. Alan created this device, and let him tell you a little bit about it, because we talk so much about accuracy in estimation and how not being accurate in estimation is the difference between profitability and you going out of business. So let me have Alan show you what we got.
So this is a Moasure 1, and it's a tiny little device. Looks a little bit like a tape measure deliberately, but it uses inertial sensors, so it uses accelerometers and gyros to measure its own movement as I move it around, and allows us to measure areas and elevation changes, especially of irregular shapes. We can actually measure point to point, but we can also measure arcs, circles, and we can even trace around completely irregular curves. So if you have a kidney-shaped swimming pool that you want to know the area of it, the perimeter of it, you just use Moasure to do that.
So show us how this works, because I'm fascinated by the stick, by the way. I have one of these over at our booth, and I'm moving it around the table, and everybody's coming over and asking me about it. But the stick, I think, really brings the experience to a totally different level.
It does, yes. I mean, we started out with just the Moasure module, and of course, if you're measuring indoors, so you're measuring rooms, for example, where you're just placing it against the walls as you go around, you don't need a stick. But if you're outdoors, all the stick does is it saves me bending down. But we had a lot of feedback from people
for old folks like us.
Like me, yeah, exactly. So we just place the module in the stick, and then we can place the stick on the ground.
And the LED is where the actual measurement occurs, right at the tip there, right?
That's right. And it also feeds back, changes color to tell me the status of the module.
Okay.
And then we have a Bluetooth link from the module to the Moasure app on your phone, iPhone or Android. And that's where basically, let's say I want to start a new measurement, so I say it's a closed measurement, and then I can literally start measuring. What I need to do is just turn on the Moasure module, with a little double tap, and let's say I start here, and then I'm going to move along, and well, we won't go too far, but I'll just go in a straight line. But
and then right on the screen,
it tells me it's 8.9 feet, and then if I go in another angle, so we'll go at right angles roughly, and it's drawing as we measure. Each time we stop, that's a measuring point, and it captures the X and Y coordinates from the start point, but it also captures the elevation of each point.
So you could increase the elevation and it's going to render that in 3D then?
Indeed, yeah. It renders the whole thing in 3 dimensions. It's always measuring in 3 dimensions, but I've got it on plan view for the purposes of doing this. And so then I'm going to come back again, but like I said, what we can do is change the path type to a trace line. Well, it could be an arc or a circle I want to measure, but let's say I want to measure an irregular path. So I'm just going to now trace around whatever my driveway was.
Yeah.
I can't even remember where I started now. I think it was over there.
Yeah, look at that. But talk about accuracy versus a tape measure, you would have to just estimate. That's all you could really do.
Yeah, so the accuracy is plus or minus 0.5% in each dimension.
Sure.
So if you're outdoors, if you're measuring up estimating, then that's perfectly accurate. Well, I think it's perfectly accurate for estimating.
Sure.
If you're going to fabricate or cut timber or drill holes, we say don't use Moasure.
Get out the old-fashioned tape. Yeah, that makes sense.
But when you're quoting a job, especially since you don't win every job you quote, you maybe only win 1 in 4, then those 3 jobs you don't quote are all wasted time. So the less time you spend quoting, the better. And if we quote, this allows you to quote accurately, plus or minus 0.5% is pretty accurate, or under 1%.
Sure.
So you're more likely to quote the job correctly.
Yeah.
You'll win more jobs that way, but the jobs you do win will make sure they're profitable.
Right,
because
exactly.
you didn't quote too low.
Well, and I think that's an important thing to talk about, because in an industry where you could have single-digit margins, if you make a mistake of 5 to 7%, that's the difference between existing and not existing. Exactly. And I think that's a really important part, and it's something that we talk about a lot at Profit Matters, is making sure you're estimating costs correctly, because if you're not, you're doing yourself a huge disservice. And there's nothing worse than doing the job and then realizing afterwards you lost money on it. You'd have been better off not taking the job in the first place. So I can see this for contractors. Homeowners, though, too. I mean, I can see there might be some times where you might want to use a tool like this.
Sometimes, yeah. To be honest, we don't promote it to
Market
homeowners.
for that, right.
We're promoting it to professionals who are using. They're going to get the benefit of the return on investment much quicker. But we do have to sell it to some homeowners, people who are really keen DIYers.
Well, right. I mean, I do a lot of mulch in my yard. But I have gravel, I have mulch, and it's always when I get 20 cubic yards and I needed 18, now I'm trying to figure out what to do with that extra, and that can be really problematic.
Because I have one in my pocket most of the time, I use it a lot.
Well, since you created, so why did you create it? What was the reason that you started
Well,
this?
I had a problem I was trying to solve in 2002, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I wanted to drill a hole through a wall which was about 18 inches thick, and I needed to drill through both sides and meet in the middle.
Oh, you're tunneling.
Yeah,
right.
But, I didn't solve the problem at the time, but I came up with the idea for this imaginary tool that would allow me to do it by lining up on one side, walking through the doorway, going to the other side of the wall. It would tell me exactly where to go to, and that imaginary tool was what is now Moasure. But I had to wait 14 years for the technology to catch up with the idea.
Very nice. Hey, well, check it out. You can go to their website, Moasure.com, and it's just essentially replace the E in measure, and you'll get there. But yeah, check it out online, and if you have questions on estimation, to always reach out to us here at Profit Matters. Thanks.